Hello, hello. Testing. So I'm muted here. Thank you for tuning in. Tonight I'm joining a live space. Alan's here. Shane's going to be here. We are listening in to or joining Demon Stride, Medicinal Mass Media's flat versus globe debate. And so that is what we are doing. I think Demon Stride is currently doing some testing or trying to work out some technical issues. I'm not totally sure. Or maybe he's just waiting for the space to pick up. I'm not so sure. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute actually and kind of ask what the plan is. Or you know what? I think actually what's going on is Alan is currently rolling his intro. So I'll give Alan a chance to come back and then I'll open my mic up on here. But again, thanks for being here. For either Cosmology joining in for Demon Stride or Medicinal Mass Media's flat versus globe debate.
Couldn't hear me or I couldn't hear them. But I can hear you guys all now, so we're all good. Oh no, you're good. I was interrupting you, I think, probably.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. Do we have any contestants for the ring? Got plenty of people in here right now.
Yeah, so if you want to participate in the whatever this is, just use a emoji involving the hands. So you can do a clap, you can do a wave, etc. Just click on the emoji thing, and when we see your hands moving, we'll give you a mic. Sometimes the interface is a little buggy, so when you request a mic, we might not see it, or et cetera, et cetera. So the best way to do it is to request and throw up emojis.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring Dan up here. Looks like he's requested twice now, but I haven't been able to get him up.
That's all right. That's okay.
Let's see.
I just accepted someone.
Silly Questions is trying to get up. Let's try and pull them up here.
Oh, get him up here for sure. I bet he's got some silly questions there.
So, Demon Stride, what were all the Globers doing this week while this event was in queue? So, have they been preparing and sweating, or like what's up?
Well, I think honestly, people have been like dreading even coming to another platform. It's really hard to get people trying new things. So I can't really tell. Is there like what does anyone know the spread right now? These seem like a lot of new people.
It's looking like it's mostly the boys from our side.
All right.
Just from a general.
We got Cole trying to get up here too.
But yeah, getting people to try out a new platform is always a bit much. But luckily there's a ton of globularists on Twitter, right? And there's a ton of flat earthers on Twitter. So hopefully we can get some overlap here and build you up a little bit. And then the Discord lads will want to commingle with the Twitter lads.
Exactly.
I'm going to switch to listening, then try to bring me up and see what happens.
Word. All right, we got some requests here. We got silly 3 times. Nice. That's a good sign when the UI shows the same person 3 times. What's up?
Well, only twice for me, to be fair.
I saw it twice.
So 2 for us, 3 for you. You know, great sign.
All right. Well, here's the thing. So after I accepted one of the 3, they all 3 went away, and then 2 of them came back. So
be careful with it because it can bug out and it'll literally like
fill it up with empty spaces.
Yeah, yes. Gotcha. I mean, that's what it did with co-hosting that one time.
Hell yeah, dude. Going straight to the moon.
Yep.
Dude, speaking of going straight to the moon, bro, I just watched that Thunderfoot video today, which is like a review of that Smarter Everyday Guys video that he did, like I guess it was like 3 months ago, regarding the Artemis project and all that, dude. Mm-hmm. It's not looking good for the moon landing lads. It's looking like looking like everyone got fleeced.
Yeah, we need to get Cole in here for that one. Like he's heard about that too.
Is he the moon landing guy?
Yeah, he's one of them. When we come and do the defend the moon landing, he's who I'm bringing with me.
Heck yes, yeah, get Cole in here.
Hey, for those of you guys who don't know, Demon Stride is going to steelman the moon landing in such a way that we may have to reconsider space travel as part of a flat Earth argument after this presentation. So we'll have to see.
Hey man, when you have as many documentaries and evidences, like how could you not?
All about those documentaries.
I'm here if you just need a glober. So
absolutely. Hey, thanks for showing up. Bruised, what's your name?
Bruised Ferret.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Bruised Ferret.
Something that rhymes with brew.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I recognized that New Zealand accent.
Gee.
Yo, is my mic working?
Yo, yeah. What's up, Travis?
Sweet. What's up, guys?
Where do we want to start? What's a good globe versus flat argument?
Well, we were actually, before we came on here, we were just talking to someone about laser measurements and surveying, and we actually happen to have a refractionist up here as well. So perhaps we could have a little, what's the word in French for dance? A little soiree, Stone? Perhaps we can have a little soiree? Is that the right word? I have no idea. But sounds very dance-like.
Soiree will do, yeah.
Nice. So yeah, if you guys want to talk about some surveying or laser measurements or anything we can refract.
I'm already swollen.
We can refract. All right.
All right. So Toby, you were just telling us about FE Core's measurements and lapse rates and all that and lateral refractions. How does that relate to geodetic surveying and arc of the paralleling?
How does that? Well, I mean, that's a funny question. Everything kind of seems pretty flat. If that's what you're getting at, I would say everything kind of comes up planar. Like you go, it's like I'm personally, I see something, I'm trying to figure out if it's curved or not, and I'm trying to do it over a long distance. I'm just thinking, just grab a laser, shoot a laser across it. That seems simple to me. But then what I'm told is, so we do it 14. You do the FE core. You got 7 laser tests that all show it's flat and planar, and then you go and you look online. You'll find multiple more. I mean, like tens of them. I found 7 more that are all pretty well documented. So that's 14 laser tests. 14 laser tests that all show no curvature. But then what I'm come to find out, what I'm told, is that all 14 of those laser tests just perfectly refracted around the globe to make it look. What's up?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good. That was just.
How is this hearing me?
I don't know.
Refraction.
Dude, all right. I figured it out. It's not even going through my soundboard. All right. It's open mic for me, I guess.
I mean, there's you can click on that little mute button. But,
No, I got it muted right now. It's still coming through.
How is that working?
I don't know.
Oh,
Dude,
you're right.
Wow. That's what was tripping me up, Demon, because you were muted and it was still, I could hear that hissing, like a fan or something. And I was like, how is this mechanically happening? So
I didn't mean to interrupt you guys. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
It's a bummer that you can't mute, man.
Twitter rocks like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just saying, why don't you go ahead and let us know, Rue? Tell me about how all 14 of those lasers refracted to actually measure spherical.
Right. So the only time that FE core actually measured the density gradient was laser test number 4, I think, from Enkhuizen over to some other place. They took a measurement at the surface and then took a measurement at 2 meters above the surface. And if you work out the average refractive gradient between those 2 points, light would easily bend, easily greater than the curvature of the Earth, and therefore would appear flat. The end. This is where Twitter sucks, by the way, because I can't show you the slides that I have. This is why we should go on Discord.
It's not super optimal, but there's a couple of things you can do. If you have some slides prepared or some screenshots, you can actually. Demon doesn't have it. Never mind. Yeah, you're effed. Unlucky.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, you can
I've done the
just
calcs.
post them as your own tweets, and we can load you in another tab. Anybody can watch what you're tweeting, man. That's easy.
Pain in the ass. I don't tweet.
I don't.
Yeah. If you tweet him, I can put him up on the jumbotron, and then we could discuss them for the audience. Like, if you want to do that, it'll just take like 2 minutes.
How about I telegram them to you? Would that be good?
Yeah, send it, and I'll put them up. I got you, Birdie.
Right, wait a minute.
All right, so we're gonna get hella refracted here in a second, and keep in mind, I started this, so you guys can all blame me.
Yep, we will.
All right, can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Jesus.
All right. There's 21 slides.
All right, we're gonna do 4 at a time. We'll start with the first 8.
We could just jump into FE core's actual measurements.
Whichever one you think is more relevant to continuing the conversation continuing the conversation in a cohesive manner.
All right, slide 7. Slide 17. We'll start with 17, and it's got measurement 5 and 2 green rectangles, Enkhuizen and Stavarin.
I'm gonna need you to send me the exact one specifically, bro. Everything you just sent me came in a big. I'll never be able to figure out which one's 17. Yep,
that one.
You. All right, got it.
So where do I see this?
1 second. So I just put it up on the jumbotron, and what that means in Twitter terms is if the UI that you can see are avatars and voices and stuff talking in. If you scroll up a little bit, you'll see that there's a thing now that says replying to Demon Stride. If you click on that,
tweet, right?
Yep, it'll pull up the picture, and we're discussing that.
Nice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So that's just a screenshot from FE Core's video, and it's the only time they actually took vertical measurements. Right. So you've got measurement at water level, 11.4 degrees, blah, 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 blah. Right. I'll send you the next one. Oh, this is going to be slow, isn't it?
Okay, can I ask you a question about that first before we talk? Just whip off to the next one there. Okay, so these two measurements here are at one of the 2 points, either sending or receiving point.
Yep.
Okay, and I imagine they have similar readings at the other point.
Maybe.
Give or take a tenth, like that kind of thing. They're probably the same because it's moderate temperature. Okay,
Without.
and it's what, midnight? So sun's not going to be coming out from behind a cloud and changing much. It's just always going to be that temperature. The question is, did they fire the level so it was like deliberately upward so it would hit 2 meters higher over there, or did they actually attempt to fire the laser level?
They attempted, yes. I don't know how
Okay,
accurate it is.
they attempted to fire it level so that the gradient doesn't really apply because it's a perpendicular value. We're shooting through the air at the same height above the ground, allegedly, if we're presuming it's flat, and the laser's going straight, and it's not going through any less dense air or more dense air. It's going to the same distance above the ground. The temperature of the air isn't changing. The density of the air isn't changing. So I don't really understand where you're getting all this gigantic amount of refraction from when the density of the medium through which it is traveling is not changing.
Okay, we may have to start from slide number 1 if that's your understanding of refraction. Do we want to? Okay, let's start from slide number 1.
Then you got to get the difference between distortion and diffraction, then refraction, rather distortion and refraction, right? Because and frankly, neither of them allow you to see better in the distance. Would you agree about that too?
Hang on, Alan? Can you put up that last picture?
Yep, the one that you just sent me, or
yes,
I got you.
Just then. Yep.
Yep. 1 second. So there's that one and this one. Oops.
Ruhif's going to claim the unreliability.
Yeah, Dan, just
inability.
Relax, just relax.
Chill, bro.
So we're talking about a refractional value change at the 4th decimal point to the right.
All right, share two screen. No, sorry, that was
10 thousandths.
Yeah. Oh, actually,
2 millionths of a delta.
The 6th decimal to the right? 6 decimal places to the right.
Well, it's about to trip over with the 7 over to the 9. I just figured, okay, well, at least that's where you're starting to keep track.
Oh, so you're talking about the gradient overall.
Yeah.
So, have we got the next? We got the slide with the face palms at the top.
Yep, the face palms are up, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, how do I see that they're up? This is so shit.
You won't see them, but the audience will see them. So just recall it as if you're looking at it yourself.
It sounds very much like this is Stone's understanding of how atmospheric refraction works. It's like he thinks we take a refractive index at one side of the lake, then a refractive index at the other side of the lake, and then sort of do one Snell's law calculation between those. Is that your understanding, Stone?
No, I think you've missed my point entirely, that everything you're looking at there is a vertical component.
Yes.
Right. But the laser is being sent horizontally. So the vertical component value would be 0, right?
No, this is how refraction works. It sounds like we need to start at the start. All right, let's go with this one then.
Yeah, right.
Oh no, hold on a second. It sounds kind of like you're adding in an extra layers to the gradient there.
It sounds fairly geometrically straightforward to me.
I agree. Do you think the vertical gradient is important, Stone?
If it is uniform from point to point, like I was talking about, and that you are completely transverse to it, I'd call it fairly irrelevant. Sure.
Okay, so we have to start at the start. Slide 1, please. How does atmospheric refraction work?
Now, are you going to start to talk about refraction or distortion?
Yes. Refraction.
You promise?
Yes. Refraction work. Okay. refraction. So do I need to
think
read
Alan
this?
is still loading one here. I haven't seen anything new on the
He
chat
said
yet.
he's got them both up. So how does atmospheric refraction work? So I'm just going to read it. Our atmosphere is structured in such a way that under typical conditions, the more dense atmosphere is close to the surface and gets less dense as you gain altitude, right? So there's less dense air on top of Everest, and it's usually 14.7 psi down at the surface. A simplified model, and I have to stress the word simplified. I'm sure someone will object shortly, and I will again stress simplified model for refraction involves treating the atmosphere as having discrete layers, with each layer having its own refractive index with well-defined boundaries to the next layer. Obviously, that's not what the atmosphere is. That's why this is simplified. But using this simplified model, we can apply Snell's law at the boundary of each layer to determine the new path of light.
Only when you're going horizontally, you're not crossing any boundaries, are you?
Right, because that's a simplification of the model, a simplification of the atmosphere. Okay, that is the simplification. There are reasons why it fails as a simplification, which you've just picked up on, right?
No, but you can continue. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think your objection is that if we have these discrete layers and each layer has a single refractive index, then if you fire something horizontal through it, it will never bend, right? I agree. That is the problem with this simplification. Okay. Okay. Anyway, do we need to do a discussion on Snell's law, or is everyone fine with Snell's law?
Might as well for educational purposes. I got your slide up if you want to run it.
Well, that's I don't want to talk through a mathematical formula.
Well, just give a quick, the Snell,
Snell's
the
law,
angle, the new medium, etc. Just give a quick TLDR.
Regardless, regardless of whether it's going into the more dense medium or out of the more dense medium or traveling up or traveling down, the rule is.
What's the difference between those?
Yo, turtles are cool.
Difference between what?
You suggested a change in medium, but what is traveling up or down relative to changing from one density medium to the next? How's that different?
Light's traveling through different densities.
Isn't that the same as the first? It's one density medium to the next medium? What's up? What's this up and down thing?
Oh, right. If you angle it up or angle it down, if you angle your light up or angle your light down,
relative
right? So it could be to the boundary, right? So you could be coming from the top, heading down towards the more dense medium. You could be angling up, heading into a more dense medium.
You suggested 4 conditions, but you keep talking about the first 2 again. Want to ask you about the third and the fourth.
Okay. What's the third and the fourth?
Traveling up and traveling down. I don't know what that's about. Yes. You were talking about changing from the light was going to be going from one density medium to the next density of medium, but then you said something about traveling up and traveling down, and I don't see the difference between them.
Yeah, there isn't. That's the point. That's the point that I'm getting to.
Then why did you mention 4 things when you're only talking about 2?
It could be traveling up, could be traveling down, could be going into less dense or into more dense. There are 4 combinations there.
No, not as far as the light concerned. The light doesn't know if it's upside down. It just knows the density of the medium through which it's traveling, right?
Okay, it's either going into a more dense or into a less dense. Is that fine now? Right.
Okay, so there is no third and fourth condition. Okay, go ahead.
If you want to treat it that way, that's fine. Okay, but let's say we've angled the laser up from the ground, right? So it's going to hit a less dense layer.
Okay, so you're suggesting a scenario that is not involved in what we're talking about, right?
Okay, I'm going to make a point shortly, Stone. I'm just trying to make a point, okay? Just trying to make a point. The rule of Snell's law that regardless of what direction and which medium it's going into, it bends towards the more dense medium. That's the point that I was trying to get to for the last 5 minutes. Do we agree with that it bends towards the more dense medium?
When it goes from a less dense medium towards a more dense medium, sure. But that's not what we're talking about here, is it?
Do you agree that Snell's law bends the light towards the more dense medium?
Do you agree that that's not the scenario in question?
Well, again, like I said, it's a simplified model. I understand that if you treat the atmosphere as having discrete layers with a single refractive index and you point your laser directly through that layer, it will never bend. That is the problem with having this simplified model. Simplified. Okay?
You can call it that, but it doesn't
Okay.
have much bearing on reality here.
It's a simplified model. It does not perfectly reflect reality. I
I'm
agree.
not sure why you needed to further simplify something where there is no vertical gradient involved.
There is a vertical gradient involved.
Well, it happens to be 0, so no, there isn't.
No, it's not. It's not 0.
Well, then you're telling me the laser was not fired horizontally then.
No,
Is that what you're telling me?
incorrect. Here's an analogy stone, okay? The sugar water in the fish tank, right? They let it settle.
Okay, another scenario that doesn't involve what we're talking about.
It's
Go
to
ahead.
make a point stone, for fuck's sake. Now, can I explain the analogy without you interrupting so that we can get to the point?
As soon as you can tie it in and somehow tell me that it's relevant.
Okay, so we have a sugar water fish tank. Would you say that they are discrete layers with a single refractive index and defined boundaries, or would you call that a continuous gradient?
No, it's a nonlinear gradient.
It's a gradient. Do you agree it's a gradient?
It is an intensely nonlinear gradient.
Okay, but it is a gradient, right? It's not a discrete set of layers. Do you agree with that?
Sure.
Okay, right. So it is a gradient. Would you agree that our atmosphere is similar to that, in that it is a discrete,
No.
continuous gradient? No.
No,
You
because
think our
there isn't a
atmosphere-
pile of sugar water at the bottom of it.
Okay, but I'm talking about the density changes. Do you
Take a
think
look
there
at
are
the change in
discrete?
density of what you added to the medium. You had water at one medium density,
Mhm.
right? And then you added a shit ton of mass to it at the bottom. Okay.
Right.
That's not what's going on in the atmosphere. So don't
Okay.
pretend that there's any similarity at all with your model.
All right. Is the atmosphere a continuous gradient, or does it have discrete layers with single value densities?
It is a gradient.
It is a gradient.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
sure. But it doesn't resemble in the least the one that you just described.
That's fine. It just has to be a gradient rather than discrete layers.
Therefore, the effects that you're citing will not resemble in the least what we experience in reality.
We agree it's a gradient. The sugar water is a gradient.
You
and
can
the
keep
atmosphere is a
trying.
gradient.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll get to my point eventually.
This
Right.
is really hardcore.
Right.
I'm already there. I don't see why you think we need to get somewhere.
Well, you think the vertical gradient in the atmosphere is not relevant, so you're wrong, which is what we're trying to get
say
to.
it's not relevant. I said it's
Yes, you did.
perpendicular to what we're talking about, first off.
Which would make it irrelevant in your mind,
And
right?
the nature of the gradient does not significantly change from point A to point B. So yeah, it's pretty fucking irrelevant.
Okay, so getting back to the sugar tank analogy, we agree that that's a gradient. Have you seen the photo where the laser is angled up? It reaches a point where it's horizontal and then angles down again. Have you seen that?
Have I seen what happens to a path of light when you send it through a thickness of glass and then heavily sauced water with something far more dense and then another piece of glass on the other side? Have I seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, we've all seen that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So it doesn't matter. The glass doesn't matter, right? It goes through the glass.
It doesn't?
It doesn't matter. We're going. You keep interrupting, right?
Okay, now tell
I'm
me why it
halfway through
doesn't.
explaining it, right?
Tell me
I'll
why it
tell you
doesn't
why it
matter
doesn't.
that we're also going through glass.
Right, because we go through the glass, the light is still traveling upwards, right? The laser could be inside the glass and just angled upwards, right? The key thing is that once it reaches horizontal, it starts bending down again, doesn't it, Stone?
For the reasons I just described, yes, it does. And those reasons are not applicable to the scenario in the question.
All right, it bends down again because it is a continuous gradient. And even though it's going horizontally through that gradient, it bends down again. That is the problem with treating the atmosphere as discrete layers. because Snell's law doesn't apply.
But the problem here is that, yeah, sure, it's an extreme gradient. So you can see
Okay.
lots of bend. When you're dealing with the atmosphere on a lake where it's flat, where it's all the same here to there, and it's just atmosphere, no. The orders of magnitude required are simply not present. It is not a valid comparison.
I agree that there are orders of magnitude difference in the gradient between a sugar water tank and the atmosphere, which just makes the effect less, not zero.
Yeah, not zero, but are
Right.
you quantifying something here, or are you just telling
Yes.
me about something's bend way with lots of hand waves about how big a fish you caught?
I am going to quantify it once we get past that point, right? When that sugar water tank laser goes horizontal, it starts bending down again, right? Through a gradient, it bends. It's not hitting discrete layers. It's a continuous gradient that curves light. Just like our atmosphere has a continuous gradient and curves light. Nowhere near as much, but it does curve the light. All right, so where do we go from here now?
Yo, Brewhiff,
Well,
are you clicking a pen? We
Oh,
can hear
sorry.
it through your
Yeah,
mic,
that's
but
kind
yeah,
of
Sorry.
annoying.
yeah,
But
thank you.
where we go
Oh,
is
we're
the
starting with
phenomenon.
Ruhif? Great.
Where we
Hey,
go is
Hello, Shay.
hey,
the phenomenon itself. What's up, Alan?
I missed
oh,
the
nothing.
question.
This could
I
have
was
gone
just gonna
worse.
say, I was just gonna say, Ruhif was the only one that showed up, so we're going in
Yeah.
hot.
Well,
But
I
again,
feel like
yeah.
Stone doesn't know enough to not engage him. But other than
No.
that,
We've,
I mean, he'll learn.
we've engaged. We've engaged previously.
Yeah, they've been engaged multiple
Yeah,
times, dude.
I can tell.
More-
Yeah, he hasn't
more than
learned the
multiple.
lesson yet. It's cool. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Hey, well, this is for educational purposes, though. So, anyway,
Dude,
but
honestly, I maintain that Ruhif is one of my favorite Globers. So
Oh, I love you,
Same.
Shane. I do actually. I was going to say, I forgot how that Discord has the good noise suppression. So I'm sitting here like clicking away, and yeah, forgot about that. Sorry.
well, you got to bring the Chris bat with you, like I did.
Weird habit.
Yo, I see. Is that? Let's see. So, if you guys are feeling like your refraction conversation isn't going anywhere, if we want to try and rotate out and circle back to it, we can do that. Or unless you guys want to continue on.
It's going slowly, but I'm happy to keep going. That's fine.
All right,
No, I'm
Stone.
good for now.
Good to continue, or good to?
No, I'm good on this topic for now. This is like he's just ignoring the assertions that I'm making and trying to talk more slowly to the next point, and somehow that's going to convince me to keep listening to nonsense. But
I mean, we can.
yeah, I think we're good for now.
Gotcha. Okay.
Beat the
Cool.
Rayleigh
So,
criteria and Dead Horse if you're a game or whatever.
We'll definitely beat that horse
if-
in a minute, though. But we got is that F6F the pilot from the debate that we were in a while ago? Is that the same guy, the Hellcat guy?
Yeah,
Wait, this is where's Demon Stride?
Is he a Glober pilot or a flat Earth pilot?
The globular kind, I believe.
Okay,
I
cool.
believe so.
I'll
Not a
mute
pilot,
and go grab I'll mute and go grab a drink. I'll mute and go grab a drink.
You make Ruhip like Glober co-host or whatever? No way.
Yeah. So, did you have anything you wanted to bring forward, F6?
Well, for one, I'm not a pilot.
Oh, my bad. I was thinking of someone else then. I apologize.
Yeah, that was B1. I think you're thinking of.
Oh, okay. I saw the plane avatar
Again,
and I was like,
it's-
this guy flies, maybe. He's got a captain's outfit on. I don't know.
No, the only plane I've flown in planes I flew in is commercial. Not pilot, but passenger.
Nice.
Never been to.
But if the need arose, you could definitely take over for piloting, right? Like if some shit went down, we could call on you to land the plane, right?
Yeah, I'm not quite qualified to do that.
It's not what I like to hear,
Grab the bull by the horns, bro. I mean,
Dude, you gotta get in there, dog. What if stuff happens, man? Have you seen the historical documentary Flight 93?
These planes land themselves nowadays.
Oh, they got the self-landers?
I got that from a movie. I don't know.
Well,
Nice.
planes are made to pull themselves out of stalls, but that can, if the pilot messes up and keeps trying to compensate himself, it can and has led to a crash.
Nice. All right. So, are you a globularist or?
I was about to get there.
Oh, nice, nice. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I apologize.
You
Go
know,
ahead.
I mean, I've been up in an airplane, but I've never been up in orbit, which is something only a rare few have done. Space. Talk about
That's
space.
that sweet taste of orbit, huh? Only for the elusive few and a couple
Well,
YouTubers.
600 people throughout history.
And William Shatner.
And Dude Perfect. Shout out to Dude Perfect.
I don't think they
I
were in
think
orbit. I think that was a suborbital, but
I'll give it to them, bro.
Yeah, it was a loop. I'm good.
I'm not gonna take their astronautics away from them, bro. I'm not gonna be that guy. They orbited. You heard it here first.
I mean, astronaut just means you've been to space. It doesn't matter. You can be in orbit or you can be in suborbital.
Yeah, you're right.
So the story goes. That's right. That's the lore.
I mean, for Christ's sake, the first American person in space. Hold on. Yeah, it was Alan Shepard. Hold on, I just had to get that thought. He was on Mercury. He was on a Redstone, which wasn't able to get him into orbit. So
Bummer.
Dude, you know what sucks when you're trying to get to orbit and you don't have enough thrust or whatever, so you don't make it. That sucks.
Do you remember when you're trying to maintain perpetual free fall while simultaneously not getting caught in a centrifugal equals gravitational force bubble or whatever? I guess that can happen.
Just purely kinematic magic.
Speaking of trying to get enough thrust to go to the old moon, do you guys know how they're trying to how they're planning to do it now? Because the old way, back in the 60s or whatever, they just did it with a single rocket that broke off into multiple pieces or what have you. And then there was that final lunar module at the top that they landed and then blasted off from to get back to the capsule that was orbiting the moon that they could slingshot back. So it was a pretty reasonable mechanism, I guess, in terms of cohesive parts or whatever. But the new method, guys, they're gonna refuel up to 15 to 20 times before they even get to the moon, dog.
yeah, I think that's an old plan. I think the new plan is just
It's the current model, brother. It's so bad that Smarter Every Day had to do a YouTube video on it, calling all the engineers out, and it was a whole big thing. It's their
yeah.
So what
No,
happened was
they're changing it. That's the thing.
well, there's nothing to change it to though. It's a ruse the whole way through and through because it was this the whole time for the past however many years it's been, and this is clearly just absolutely nothing, not even tenable at all. So the new thing is going to be the same. You know what I mean? So anyway, what they did is this lady that used to work there that was in charge of the Artemis project. She goes, "All right, boys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to funnel all this money to SpaceX, and we're going to hinge everything on multiple refuelings in orbit or whatever." And then she bounces, quits NASA. Guys, guess where she works at now? SpaceX. So that was cool for them to do that, funnel all that money to another organization, and then change CEOs. But yeah, so it'll be going nowhere, and then they'll come up with another plan that Smarter Every Day in about 10 years will make another video on, pointing out that this was also not good.
The Artemis 3 core stage, yada yada yada. It's currently go there, dock with a separate landing craft, and land.
Yeah, and they're also using a different type of rocket engine that has more points of failure, right? So I guess the old method is essentially the equivalent of turning on a valve and then it works. It just magically or whatever. And then the new method depends on these turbines that will have multiple points of failure due to temperature conditions. So if they're exposed to the sun too long, you can't even touch them. They'll be too hot. And if they're too cold, they won't, there'll be problems with that.
Yeah,
and then the engine itself running them, they have to be a certain temperature before you can even turn the engine on to even try and use the turbines, because if the temperatures are out of whack, then as the thing heats up, it'll just destroy it. So it'll be really cool to watch him do this like 16 times plus in orbit or whatever.
Well, I
mean,
think. Wait, are you talking about the Artemis rocket has the points of failure?
yes.
Okay, well, it's already launched once, so.
Yeah, how many times has it been to the moon and did 16 successful refuels in midair, or was it just an empty payload for you guys to all watch and gleefully look at and act like it's a real
It
thing?
had
That's
a
meaningful.
mannequin. It had a mannequin in it, and it went
So
around
empty
the moon and
payload
came
then, huh?
back. Went
A
around the moon
mannequin,
and
dude.
came back.
It's a mannequin, dude. Oh,
Mannequin,
hold on. wait a minute.
mannequin technically isn't an empty payload because it technically has something in it.
Hmm.
Well, you certainly got me there. All right, so we've covered pretty much nothing. Is there any other globularist that would like to come up for globular proofs or questions, or just to tell us that we're retarded? Either one will be fine.
We should tell Demon Stride he's retarded.
You're
That's available
retarded.
as well. Just in
I mean, the fact that you take these things that are kind of ambitious and say, "Oh, this can't happen, therefore everything about space travel is fake."
That's
Virtue
retarded.
signaling now, nice.
That's what you just did.
No, that's what you literally just did.
No, you were just saying how stuff with the Artemis program, the current plans, aren't possible. Therefore, everything that's been done in the past is not real.
That's not
That's exactly
virtue
what you just
signaling.
said.
That's not what I said specifically, but I do hold that position. So
Yeah,
not gonna,
and
not
that's
gonna
yeah, and
fight
that's
you
the,
on it.
yeah, that's a position that's an error.
Well, you say that, but when you look at everything, so you equate the untenableness of Artemis as an ambitious project, right? But when we look at the ambitions of the moon, we come across similar things, right? It's all just stories told, right? You just believe in like an earlier part of the story, and you're waiting for the new stuff to get canonized.
So
Yet.
hold on.
So,
What about Artemis makes the Apollo program so not possible?
Well, they never went in the first place. So like pretending to go in another program isn't like it's not doing
Last I
doesn't do
checked.
anything.
Okay, hold on. Last I checked, 6 isn't equivalent to 0.
Oh boy.
Yeah, good call. All right. Looking for any globular.
Okay, so you're just gonna move past the discussion here.
Yeah.
6 isn't equal to 0. We went to the moon and landed 6 times.
My favorite was Apollo. I like 13 and 17. I thought it was cool in 13 that they had their little kerfuffle, and instead of imploding in the vacuum of 10 to the negative 17 or 10 to the negative 17
implode in a
hey, I'm talking. Please don't interrupt me. Instead of anything going wrong, all they had to do was just put everything into neutral and just slingshot around the moon, fly right on back home. 200,000 miles, no big deal. Just slingshot around, head on back home. You got enough food in there, you got enough water in there. You might have to keep your waste material in the craft with you, but no big deal. And then you land in the ocean and they come out and get you all good.
Yes, that's what they had
But I
to
like
do
17
with
too.
13.
I really love the way that they sent the radio signal to the moon to pan the camera up as they took off to have that nice little set of theatrics.
Hold on, Toby. A antenna the size of a building from the ground transmitting 238,000 miles isn't a difficult thing.
Yeah, but you had to send the signal 8 seconds before the craft actually lifted off.
1.2.
And dude, and I'm telling you, it's impressive, right? I'm gonna post the video,
it's
and we can all
2 seconds.
I'm gonna post the video, and we can all take a look. And honestly, I think we'll all probably go back to being globularists after this.
Was your plan to wow us with space today, or did you who are you?
Shane, stop interrupting me.
Yeah, but who are you?
He's not interrupting you.
Yes, he was, because I was about to start talking, and he just
you were about to start talking.
You? I
so
got
he's
hold on.
So he pre
saying. All right. Well, hold on. We're not doing pre-crimes here.
Oh, yeah.
But honestly, dude, let's see. Is there anyone else that wants to talk about the Earth? aside from this guy, we are building a nice moon conversation.
Dude,
But
like
for
space
but
and
for when we
nighttime.
move on from this in about 2 minutes, is there anyone else who wants to?
I'm always here. So
Like, dude,
you know,
like nighttime
My man,
gets me every time.
dude.
yeah,
So.
Ruhif, you're a soldier, bro.
true.
Can we not do refraction though? What else you got in that bag, Ruhif?
Yeah, Ruhif, what else do you
Uh,
talk about, bro?
Talk about
Nothing.
theodolite measurements if you like.
Dude,
Start
Well,
here.
like, how
okay,
the fuck
I
about the
got-
curvature function? How does that work?
Talk about the curvature function. What do you?
Yeah,
what do
like
you mean?
why
8
does
inches
it
per
have
square?
one? And how
I
does
love how
nobody have
Shane's
told
talking
me
about
that?
curvature when half of his map is plagiarized from NASA. That's actually hilarious.
Oh, that hurts. Oh my god.
yo, please don't interrupt.
Or like talk, I think.
So
Where's
the
Demon Strider? Where's you asking?
the curvature function in a total station. You mean?
Yeah, like how come I had to find that out as like the instruction manual and none of you globulars told me that was a thing, even to warn me that it would be off as Jesse did.
Yeah. Most, if you want to find the elevation of something a decent distance away and it's far enough for curvature to be a factor, then you would turn it on and it would give you the elevation at that point.
But like when you're arguing curvature using this thing in a debate, you wouldn't like tell me, well, hey, it does have a curvature function that like aligns with the supposed curvature if you look a certain distance, but like it's off. I want you to know when we go prove this with this instrument.
It's in total stations. It's not in theodolites or auto levels.
All right, yeah, that's a good call. It isn't that, but you and Jesse both use total stations to prove sphericity, don't you?
I don't have a total station. I don't think Jesse has either. He's got what's he got? He's got this thing from the 80s, I think it is.
Isn't
which does have it in it, yeah.
So you don't have a curvature function in yours. So you're all safe with your your theodolite is definitely measuring curvature optically at 8 inches per mile squared or whatever.
Yeah. Well, 6.86 if you like it. Yeah, with
Right.
refraction.
Well, yeah, there's that. So like optic curvature is a big thing. I like how it supports the optic argument and not the physical curvature argument, really.
How do you distinguish between those?
Well, the math that everyone loves with radius criterion, the optical expected drop rate, and of course the radius of your spherical vision. So those three will always help, right? So like now I'm just kind of like anyone has optical curvature that just fits me, so you can help me out. We're gonna need that physical curvature though for a solid.
Okay, but what would it what would you expect optically on a globe? Would you expect what we'd actually measure?
I'd expect much more drop, right? There's way less drop than there should be, and even like, dude, like you should be literally having to look down everywhere you go. I shouldn't be like not seeing the curvature just outside of my vision. I should be seeing it maybe in the peripheral or even like anywhere.
We do look down to points of equal elevation. That's just a fact.
You mean like in a plane with a water bottle, or you're talking like mountain theodolite sites?
Yeah, theodolite. Yeah.
Yeah, of course I should have known what you were talking about.
Yeah, it's much more accurate than being on a plane. Yeah, sure.
Do you you remember that paper on the reciprocal zenith angles refraction gauge with the specific altitude that they tested and the actual radiation that they measured with the effective refraction?
No, you're talking about vertical refraction or lateral?
No, like a little vertical, just regularly in the atmosphere at the specific height where people commonly take reciprocal zenith angles.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yes.
Margin
Yeah,
of
yeah.
error more than the sphericity measurement. Right
Yeah,
now, ringing a bell?
Yeah, no, I've read it, but I haven't really fully wrapped around it. Yeah, it's one where they set up two theodolites and left them running for like 3 days or whatever and measured the coefficient.
They did a bunch. I remember you said, "Oh, I don't remember it being that high," and then you never mentioned it again, so I was confused. That seems like you just put it away. You're like,
Yeah, like you know my challenge is get on top of a mountain looking across a valley, right? That's why.
and make a prediction with math and some trigonometry. You think?
Yep.
Oh,
what
man.
would you expect?
Bring a
on the globe?
barometer up that mountain too, just to test if the pressure gets lower the higher you go.
Yeah,
Roughly expect 8 inches per mile, like square drop off, man.
Yeah, but what would you expect on a globe? Is that what you would also expect on a globe?
Well, no, like you should see that, right?
We do.
I mean, like you should like see something that's more than a half of an inch of a refracted missing thing that's just obscured because of the lower frame of your horizon has gobbled it before the top frame of the horizon in combination with the optic limit of your eye or whatever.
We're not looking anywhere near the horizon. We're looking from one mountain to another mountain. Or I've taken a few shots of Sydney Tower from around the place as well. That's a fun one.
Yeah, how many people
And-
in Australia fucking take theodolite measurements to prove globularity out of curiosity?
Oh,
6.
I took. I was just for shits and giggles. I bought this thing the other day. It's a bipod, so it holds my measuring rod. So I was actually able to do proper differential leveling. Yeah, so I just got an accurate height for my little observer location up on DY Cliff. That was fun. So I'm sure the people walking down the street going, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" Anyway.
I just wanted to interject here and say that apparently earlier in this space, whenever Brian was in here, or in a different space, Brian Sweet, we all know him, is going off about how thrust doesn't
familiar.
work in a vacuum. Is that what?
It doesn't.
Yeah, you're wrong. Sorry.
Is there a medium in a vacuum to constitute the
You don't need a
necessary heavy
medium,
current?
dude.
So
You
hold
don't
on a
need a
second.
medium to move?
Hold on a second, medium lads. I took the same position that you guys all take. Stone has some different insights on it. Maybe you would like to shed your thoughts on vacuum propulsion with an explosion, Stone, because I thought
Sure.
this really, anyway, because we all say that stuff, but then it's like, well, hold on. Anyway, continue, take it away.
Yeah, it all comes down to a demonstration done by the YouTuber Action Labs. He
The
he got a
rocket
hold of
didn't.
an
The
well, he
rocket
got a hold
didn't.
of an ace
No,
can of
hold on.
Sprite and threw
Why are
it
you
in a
hold on.
vacuum.
Why are you interrupting him? He's talking.
There was
Stop
That's
another.
good.
There was
Good
another
fucking question.
test
Why are you interrupting me?
because I
It
need
was,
to tell you something, dude.
No,
You can just hold on to
hey,
that,
yeah,
right?
you absolutely don't. So Stone's talking.
Okay, so we got this can of Sprite unopened that he held up with a string, suspended, just like you see in this CO2 canister, suspended. He puts it in his own little tank and starts to move it towards vacuum. Of course, it doesn't quite get there. It gets down to under 1/10 of an atmosphere, and just below that, finally, the seals on it break out one end, and the mass of what's inside the can starts to go out that end. And long before any of that mass encounters even itself in the next frame or two, as in a very short moment of time, and I use the word moment on purpose, you do see the can move in the opposite direction that this stuff is blowing out the end, because what we're truly looking at here is an inertial exchange. On the original impulse, we're looking at an inertial exchange, and then again, moments later, then okay, there is exigent pressure in the tank along with the can, and what continues to come out of the can has that to push against and then accelerates it another order of magnitude in the same direction that it started to go on the first impulse. So what we're really looking at here is a ratio. I'm saying on the one hand, we have to give it to the Globies in their assertion that it is an inertial relationship we're looking at. It has nothing to do with the density of the medium that it might or might not be pushing against. Agreed, having one is better, having one is more efficacious, as I just pointed out with this Sprite can. However, it is a matter of the ratio, that there's a lot of mass inside that can proportional to the mass of the can,
That was my next
which
question.
is next
Yes.
to
That was my
nothing,
next
Yes.
right?
question, Stone.
No,
That
hold
was
So
on,
my
hold
next
on,
question.
hold on,
I'm not
Stone.
holding on because I ain't
No,
done.
Stone. No, seriously. Do
I'm
you know
not
how
done,
much?
F.
Hey, F6,
Can I
F6,
ask Stone
F5. We're not
a
doing
very
that. We
serious
don't
question?
interrupt. You got to let him
That was
finish
my
his
my
thought.
next question, because wouldn't that still be like?
So yeah, we're
Yeah,
not doing the thing where we talk over each other. F6,
I was
F5.
just muted and I thought I had the floor.
No,
Alan, I
no,
think Alan was trying to
it
clear
was
the floor.
yeah, it was a
Sorry.
uniform mute
Auto
to
mute.
everyone because that guy was talking over you, and it was just I could
Yes. No,
Okay, great.
Stone.
So can I
Seriously, I need to
continue
say
here?
something.
absolutely. Yo, F6, stop talking or you're gonna lose your mic permanently.
wait. Can I ask Stone a question real quick before he continues? Could I to kind of clarify something?
What's up, Shane?
Because you said there was an inertial change, and I can completely subscribe to that. But there was still something inside the can. So would that still not necessarily be a medium helping movement?
Well, I'm still working on that.
Okay.
You see, it's a 2 point that I'm trying to make here. And on the one side of the fence, like I just said, that when we look at it, it is an inertial transfer that's going on in the first part. Let's see, F6, you need to mute up, bro. Anyways, however, on the second part, that when we talk about
Right.
the mass that's inside it and the mass of the can, that there's a lot more mass inside it than the actual mass of the can in the case of the can of Sprite. However, when we go to these
Shane, I
astronomical
think you're hot
craft,
micing, bro. Someone, I can hear someone typing.
No, it's fair. It's fair. I'm looking at it.
Is that me? I'm
Oh,
not
sorry, I
mute-
can't.
yeah,
hang on.
Rude,
Did you unmute
definitely.
me?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
showing muted. What?
I was trying. I'm on
Yeah.
the. Oh yeah, so
Bruh.
they don't lie to you, and yeah, welcome to Twitter.
Sorry, it's just Twitter Spaces being buggy. I
Okay, once
apologize.
again, we're going from a ratio of the large amount of mass still inside the can relative to the can. And when we go to the NASA platform, when we're looking at something that is a couple hundred kilos, the long distance craft out there that are supposed to be allegedly navigating in space using thrust mechanism. And this is something I ran into. Pardon?
So
Hey,
hold
Alan,
on.
you might have to boot. You might have to boot silly question. I don't understand why you keep coming off mic.
So
I'm actually
this
trying
is
to listen to something.
Yeah, but if that's the stuff that gives you the keeps you in, then that would be important to do.
Yeah,
Hold on,
I would really.
hold on.
Yeah,
I want.
I'm,
Hold on.
I'm trying to remove him. He doesn't know he's hot micing.
Can I address Stone for just 1 second?
I'm not
No,
done.
no, no.
Whether you address the whole thing, otherwise there's no point. There's no efficacy in conversation until I'm allowed to deliver the whole point. And I'm 3/4 of the way out there after 8 attempts now.
Oh, God.
My God. So the point is we're bringing this out in scale to the astronomical craft, hundreds of kilos, ish. But this is something that I ran into when I was looking up the video that I produced on a couple thoughts about plasma, that the plasma drive is measured in terms of a moment, an impulse value, not a thrust cubic meters per second out the back of the end value. That there is allegedly an inertial moment value that they attribute to the plasma they create on the fly coming out of the nozzle when they put these two propellants together in some cases. And there are different types of producing plasma. This is just the one I'm talking about because it's relevant in terms of the mass of the propellant inside the craft ratioed against the entire mass of the craft. That is an entirely different ratio than the Sprite can. The Sprite can, the mass is 2, 3, 4, 5 times that of the can. Up there, the mass is maybe a tenth, a 20th of the mass of the can it's supposed to be driving around through space. My point there is, hey, wait a minute, how much of this moment is going to be firing to make it how go so fast when you're dealing with astronomical distances between A and B, even to get to a Lagrange point or to just simply station keep there as we're spinning around at Mach 88 going around the sun. And it's
I get what
supposed to
you're
be a craft that's there for years, somehow not being hit by any other asteroids or other rock things that we allegedly see hitting our own atmosphere to the tune of 40 metric tons per day. So all of that together, it's still a point for the flat earthers, I think, because
Yeah.
the ratio and the propellant mass simply does not add up to anything constituting longevity of the craft in
Yeah,
terms of
Are you
operability.
that makes
okay?
complete sense. That
So
makes
Shinku,
go ahead with
complete sense.
questions.
Shinku, Stone. So, in order for a rocket to thrust, the mass of the fuel has to be more than the casing.
No, what we're talking about is the amount of mass coming out the back relative to the mass of the thing that it's supposed to be driving.
Yes, and this
And in
is
terms of the Sprite can, it's a
Stone.
shitload of Sprite coming out the back compared to this light little can. And in
Yes,
terms
and
of the
it's the same with the
spacecraft, it's a
rocket
really
engine.
heavy spacecraft with this little teeny plasma moment coming out the back.
I don't think teeny plasma moment.
Okay, you're
Take a
not
Saturn.
understanding
No,
what
hold
he's
on.
saying. You're not
Shinku.
understanding what he's saying,
No,
bro. He
Shinku, be
said that,
quiet. I'm trying
bro,
to
because
address
it's
Stone.
no.
Well,
He said
yes,
it's
in fact, I
obvious
can
you don't
quantify
understand.
that for you if you're interested.
It's obvious
Seeing
you
you're
don't
Let me
going to
understand what he's
challenge me
saying.
on my adjective.
no let Stone. Let me address. A
You're addressing
tiny
something you don't
plasma.
understand what he
Shinku,
said
shut up
because it's
now.
obvious you don't understand what he said,
Hey,
bro. I'm trying to
Hold on.
clarify for you.
Shinku, just let
Hold on.
them sort
I'm
it
going
out
to
for a minute.
quantify what I said because he's challenging me when I use the adjective
No,
tiny.
I'm not done. I'm not done talking. So, tiny plasma flame. You're describing, if we take the Saturn V first stage as an example,
I'm
you're
not.
describing. No, I'm
I'm not.
taking it
Not
as
at
an
all.
example.
It's not an example.
I am taking it as an example.
It's
Now,
not an
you're
example of what I'm talking
calling.
about.
You're
You're
calling
lifting off
7.
the ground with the first stage Saturn V rocket. You've got atmosphere. It's irrelevant to the analysis.
Okay, well then let me look at the thrust of the second stage.
It doesn't matter either. You're still up at 50, 60, 70 miles.
Okay,
It's
how about the
not
third
the
stage?
same.
We're doing the third.
Dude, we're talking about craft like the web, like the things that are supposed to be out there in geosync, things that are supposed to be assuming their own position via their own propulsion far beyond low Earth orbit. So says NASA. These craft are given longevity of the order of a decade in terms of
Does
working
force equal
operation.
mass times velocity?
Hey, Dubs, what are
Hey,
you
home
doing?
dog. Yeah.
I'm just
Good to
saying,
see you, but
force equals
shut
Stone.
up.
mass times velocity, right?
Stone. Okay, can I address Stone? Please. Now, the Saturn V, let's see, stage info. Third stage.
I still don't know why you're talking about the Saturn V.
Because the third stage operates in a vacuum.
Oh man, it's a
It was
one-shot
powered.
cock block. It's not what I'm talking about.
Please.
We're talking about
Please.
plasma, right?
Can you let me finish speaking? The third. So you're saying that the thrust coming out the back has to be more than the weight of the rocket.
I said no such thing.
That's exactly what you said.
I said no such thing.
That is precisely what you said. You were talking about how the amount of stuff coming out the back of the can is more than the weight of the can.
In terms of a Sprite can,
In
yeah, the
terms of a
ratio is
rocket.
overwhelming.
Yes, and in terms of a rocket, I'm pretty sure that 200,000 pound-feet of thrust with the third stage of the rocket, which at this point it didn't weigh that much because it had already ditched several parts, that's enough to move the third stage and the spacecraft attached to it.
And how long does it fire for until it's done?
400, well, the 200 series would fire for 480 seconds.
Okay,
Cut
6
over,
minutes,
yes, cut over 2 burns, and the
8 minutes.
500 series was 500 seconds, cut over 2 different burns. That's just
Okay,
how much fuel it carried.
okay, less than 10 minutes. Then it's all done.
Yeah.
Right? Then it's all done. Okay, now, obviously, I'm not talking about that kind of craft, am I? I'm talking about the kind of craft, like I said, for the third freaking time, the ones that are given longevity, the ones that are sent way beyond low Earth orbit, where you think your
Okay.
third stage just got you to. Things that are said, oh no,
The
we're going to
third
have this thing
stage,
motoring out to a
the
Lagrange
third,
point. It's going to
okay,
be out there for 10 years and it's going to be blasting around using this plasma thruster to keep it itself in position and stuff for 10 years, but it doesn't have the fucking fuel to do it.
it got sent to the Lagrange point in a similar way the command service and lunar module got sent to the moon. Basically, they got put on the trajectory by the third stage of a rocket, or third, other stage, to the Ariane 5.
Right.
And then basically it coasts over there on its trajectory.
So according to your story, that thing is coasting at 12 to 17 to 20,000 miles an hour headed that direction because that's the speed they fire things off at
It's
Earth, right?
currently at the Lagrange point, which means it's in
That's
a
not what I'm talking about.
gravitational equilibrium.
That's not what I'm talking about. You have to listen to the question. When they sent it away from Earth with all that rocketry you're just talking about, blasting hydrogen, not plasma. They got it up to escape velocity, right? It had to get it away from Earth and going fast enough that it's not going to come back. It's going to be going 12 to 17,000 miles an hour, right?
17,000 miles an hour
Right?
is not escape velocity, it's orbit velocity.
Whatever,
It
it's got
was
to be faster
already
than
it
that if
w
it's going to be sent on
please,
its
no,
way somewhere else,
Stone,
right?
Stone.
Would
It
you
was
quantify it
already
or shut up?
Stone, will you let me talk? So it was already going more than 17,000 miles an hour because it was in a pretty low orbit of the Earth. So it wasn't that hard to push it to 20,000
Okay,
miles per hour.
great. Now follow my question instead of interrupting me. All right. It's going 20,000 miles an hour away from Earth. And eventually, relative to the Earth, it's going to achieve a stationary point. That's what the Lagrange point is, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so it's also going to have to spend the thrust to do that, right?
no, because that's not how orbital mechanics work.
Okay, it's going 20,000 miles an hour away from the Earth, and then it has to go to a spot relative to the Earth again, 0 miles an hour going away from the Earth, right?
Yeah,
Are you saying that they just left it on a slow deceleration that they could just calculate that if we start at 20,000 between here and F3 or F5 or whichever F you think it should be, that it's just gonna slow down and eventually stop on that spot all by itself? No, they do
that's
a burn to stop it into
Stone.
position, right?
Stone. That's how orbital mechanics work. As you get farther away from a body with gravity, you go slower because you don't have a force pulling you and trying to accelerate you faster.
Okay, think it through. If that's the case, if Earth's pull is so much less, that much farther away from Earth, they will have to spend even more thrust slowing down,
No,
right?
no, no, because you're not being
Okay, we're done,
accelerated,
buddy.
Stone, because you are not being
Hey,
accelerated by a body with
hey,
gravity.
yo, F50 or what was it, F6? Why don't we circle back to this? We've got some people that have been here waiting
Yeah,
to
no, I've
to
got
talk.
That's
interrupted
silly,
like 10
man.
times, so I still need to get something cleared up with
Bro,
Stone.
you don't even understand what he
Yeah,
said.
well, yeah,
Shinku?
we'll
No,
circle
no,
we'll circle
Toby,
back
no,
to it,
Toby,
F6.
I
I
need,
appreciate
Toby,
that.
Toby, I need to get this straightened out because Stone is not understanding
He's an
that
No,
as you get
idiot.
Stone
farther
I don't
understands
away.
it. And what?
understand. I love it.
Real quick, you're talking to Alan is the person talking to you, not me, just to be
Okay,
clear. But
sorry,
also,
Alan.
Yeah,
hold
you're
on.
good.
Hey, I'm still talking. You're gonna get kicked if you interrupt anybody again. You will be removed from this space. That is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So just heads up on that. Now, just so you know, Stone understands gravity, and you're misunderstanding the proportional drop off that he's invoking, and you're just jumping
That's
right over that, and you're trying to pin him on something that you don't seem to actually understand. But we're gonna move on.
um if he understands gravity, he would understand that the farther away from a body with gravity that you get, the slower you go because you're not being accelerated downward. That's how orbital mechanics work. That's
Hey,
why geostationary satellites exist. Because as you get farther out, you are orbiting now at the same speed the Earth rotates. Whereas the International Space Station, which is much closer, has to maintain a faster speed to maintain this horizontal velocity to stay above the atmosphere.
Okay, F, you don't understand that those two things are entirely different, inertially speaking. You're talking about things that are staying in orbit around the Earth. I'm talking about a position that is static relative to the Earth and has nothing to do with its rotation.
Okay? And it's the same principle.
No, it's
Yes,
not.
it is. Because you get slower as you get farther away from a body with gravity until you meet that gravitational equilibrium, which is called the Lagrange point.
Okay, so
Basically, the James
yeah, right.
Webb is in between the gravitational fields of the Earth and the Sun.
Okay, skill testing question time. Do you think that a Lagrange point rotates around with the same angular rate around Earth that those satellites, quote, in geosynchronous orbit are also, in terms of angular speed, rotating around the Earth with it to maintain a geosynchronous place. Do you think that Lagrange also rotates around the Earth like that?
Did I ever say that?
You just implied it.
No, I didn't.
You told me they were the
No,
same.
me bringing up the fact that you go slower the farther from a body with gravity you go is not me implying that orbit and a Lagrange point is the same.
It's weird. Every time you say that, you sound so retarded that the farther away from the gravitation you are, the slower you go. That makes absolutely no sense. You realize that, right?
You realize that gravity is a force that accelerates things, right?
No,
That's why
it's
it's
an
called.
accelerational force, yes, but the point is we're talking about angular speed here, not r squared. Okay, you're saying that there is a similarity here somehow between geosynchronous orbit and a Lagrange point, and they are nothing at all similar about them.
The thing that's similar about them is how you have to decrease in speed, or how it does decrease in speed.
Well, the ones in geosync don't decrease in speed at all. They're bizzing around at 20,000, right?
No,
Oh, God.
they're orbiting at the same speed Earth rotates, which is 15 degrees per hour.
Exactly. And at that altitude, what is their linear speed? We just talked about this. How do you drop this? We just talked about it. You gave me the figure. Like,
Something
is
like
it dawning on
1,000
you?
miles per hour, dude.
Yeah, something like 20,000, right?
I said
But at
1,000.
1,000 miles per hour? That's supposedly the speed of people standing at the equator. On the land, it's supposed to be 1,000 miles per hour. The geosynchronous orbit guys 400 miles away from the surface are supposed to be doing 20,000, right? That's
Sorry,
why they do all the rocketing.
I mixed it up. It's
Okay.
7,000. Also,
Which
they're not
geosync?
140. They're not 140 miles out. You might need to do research on how
I
far
said
out
400, but
geosynchronous.
it doesn't matter how
400
far out
miles is
they are.
low Earth orbit.
It doesn't matter how far
Yes, it
out they are. The
does.
point is that it is a massive linear speed rotation going around the Earth, trying to be geosynced with it. And the Lagrange point is nothing of the sort. Relative to the center of the inertial point of the Earth, it's 0 miles an hour.
Yes, because you're at a gravitational equilibrium.
Right.
Now, what
So
I
when
am,
you send
if
something
you
from
will,
Earth at 20,000 miles towards it, it has to slow down to 0 and it has to spend its own thrust to do that.
no, it slows down as it gets farther away from the body with gravity. What
Guys,
part of
it
that
can
is
do
hard to
both.
understand?
There's two ways to enter a Lagrange point. How long are you guys going to argue about this? One way is a very fuel efficient way where you slow down using retro thrusters over time, or put yourself into some sort of complicated orbit that does slow you down and you get captured by the Lagrange point. Or you can brute force it. You can head straight towards it, turn your rocket around, fire the other direction, and come to a stop at the Lagrange point. Both are used. Holy crap.
And what James
You
Webb
you
did was
got
it
data
put
to
it
show that, P, that
stone,
both are used?
stone. And what James Webb did is it put itself into an orbit that slowed it down and then got captured. And that's how most things at Lagrange points do it, because it doesn't take that much fuel.
Oh, man. The point is that after it even gets there, okay, we got solar wind to contend with and things knocking
Yes, you have to use
around,
your
right?
thrusters to
We've got
correct.
these we've got the moon swinging around and gravitationally fucking with it all the time. It comes around
You're
once a
well out of the moon's
month.
sphere of influence at
Oh, you're
at
out of the sphere of
1,000
the
miles
influence of the
away.
moon. Oh, 9,000 miles, but it's 239,000 miles away, but it somehow affects our oceans, right? So it's kind of probably affecting it too. Come on, guy. This is basic. I
Right.
think we're
Hey,
done here.
Can we move on? Jeez.
yeah,
I
as much
think
as
People
we're
have
I,
waited
done
for like
here.
half an
Thank
hour to
you.
talk.
yeah,
Stone,
yeah, thank you, P-Dubs. As much as I
Stone, all you had was
appreciate,
incredulity.
hey, F6, I
That's it.
appreciate your time and coming out. Thank you. We're gonna
Okay,
move
when
on
I
from this
give you
conversation
the
then.
actual physics back, that's not incredulity.
I gave you physics on how orbital
We're still
mechanics
going, huh?
work, and
Nah,
you said
we're
nuh-uh.
not.
No, we're done here.
Where's
Thanks
where's
for
the
playing.
moderation button? Anyway, so F6, if you could please mute your mic. Liliana, if you're still there, we would like to hear from you, please. Sorry, I missed your hand when you were waving in earlier, and thank you for
Oh
waiting
no,
patiently.
no problem, no problem. Everything's good. I'm really enjoying this. My
So
question,
glad.
yeah, Stone, I really appreciate when you're here. I love hearing you. Um, my question is to any Glober who can answer me. You know how the oceans all stay in place because of gravity, right? So it's not sloshing around or any. So the gravity is equal on all the oceans everywhere, and so they all kind of contour to the globe, right? Okay. So now my question is that why does the water level at the surface not reflect the major topographical changes in the level of the ocean floor? So basically what I'm saying is that the surface of the water need not reflect every single foot of change in the ocean floor's topography, but why not follow the topography, let's say up to like the 1,000-foot change? So if there's a mountain or a valley in the floor of the ocean, why is that not reflected? Let's say there's 1,000-foot mountain or there's 1,000-foot valley. Why is that not reflected at the surface of the ocean? So, like I said, it doesn't have to follow the topography down to every foot, but 1,000 feet is pretty reasonable, I think, and it would be visible, and the gravity would still be working exactly the same way as it does for a globe, for the curve of the globe. So I don't see why the water is not doing that, because the way I imagine it is that, as the earth is getting narrower and smaller as it goes to the center, so the basically the shape of the gravity force would have to be almost sort of conical, right? So it's wider at the surface and it narrows as it goes to the core of the globe Earth, right? So my question is that it only makes sense that the surface of the oceans should follow the topography of the ocean floor, at least in the thousands of feet. So do you have an answer for that? Any Glober like that? To me, somehow
Yes.
that has never made sense.
Okay. Do you know how puddles work?
No, go ahead and tell me how puddles work.
Puddles fill a hole in the ground with water.
You're not understanding her question, bro, at all, and it's very obvious. What she's saying is that the gravitational pull of the Earth is constant around the entire globe, causing all water to remain level. Should the gravitational exert on the entire globe not push the water closer to the surface, so that way you could see topography in the ocean floor? Would it not conform more toward the ball instead of just sitting on top of it? That is her question.
Right, but it
No, it
sounds
would
like
not.
she's expecting like water mountains.
That's not what she's expecting, bro. This is what I'm saying. You don't understand the question.
Can
If
I
this
jump
is-
in?
Clearly.
Can I jump in?
Go
Can I
every
jump in?
time
Since
someone
I had
says
my hand
something,
up.
you're
Hold
always
on,
like,
since
"Oh,
I had my hand up, since I had
question."
my hand up, and I was the next Glober in line, can I respond?
Yeah,
Cool.
you're good, P-Dubs. Send it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks for the moderation, co-host. Yeah, there are water mountains in the ocean, actually. There's the Indian Ocean Geoid Low, and it is off the coast of India, and it's about 300 feet below sea level, and an area that extends over 1,000 miles wide. And it's due to a lower gravitational pull in that area. It was first noticed, I think, in the early 1900s, first measured 50 years after that, and currently we have gravitational meters that can actually show us that there's less gravity in that area. So you can go look it up, the Indian Ocean Geoid Low. Very famous, and 300
It's
feet below surface area. So it's not following
hold on.
I'm sorry, was somebody else talking over me? So anyways, it doesn't follow the topography of the surface. It follows the gravitational pull of the Earth, which is not consistent across the globe. There are areas with more gravitational pull and less gravitational pull. So I hope that answers. I'll go back to the question about thrust in a
No,
vacuum.
wait, P-Dubs, that
Oh,
doesn't
no,
really
no, no, no,
answer
no.
my
I'm sorry. I
question.
answered it to my satisfaction. I'm sorry. It's not to your satisfaction. So I'll
You're
go
just
back
being
to
a
the
chick
question.
now.
Yeah, so I'll go to the question about thrust because you guys went completely away from that to talk about Lagrange points and yada yada yada. Incredulity at the ability for thrust to provide thrust in space, without really gaming that theory out in your head. The thrust comes out of the back of the rocket at high speed. How does it attain that high speed? Before it hits the atmosphere or lack of atmosphere, it's in the combustion chamber at high pressure and high temperature. That's the equivalent of high speed. You measure temperature as the average kinetic energy of the molecules. Inside the pressure chamber, they're extremely high temperature and high pressure, right? So we know we have a lot of kinetic energy in there already. It's not touched the outside world. You poke a hole in the combustion chamber. Now it vents to the outside world. What is it pushing off of to get going that fast? Before it hits the atmosphere, before it hits the vacuum, it's pushing off of something else. The rocket, the walls of the combustion chamber is what it's pushing off of. And in turn, that combustion chamber is linked to the rocket and it pushes against the entire rocket. That's for your typical chemical combustion rocket. It is called a reaction motor. It works the same on Earth as it does in space. If you ask any rocket scientist right now, any true rocket scientist, I'm not talking about people who go to space, just people that make Sidewinder missiles, let's say, they will say it's a reaction engine, right? It does not push off the atmosphere. It is a reaction, is inertial exchange between the fuel moving at an extremely high speed, which gives it a large force. That's why you want high pressures and high temperatures, and you want your exhaust moving at the fastest speed possible. You're limited with chemical reactions to a certain amount of speed. When you burn like two things together, you can go much higher with a plasma thruster. With much lower amounts of propellant, you get the same amount of thrust because thrust equals mass times velocity. So a plasma thruster has much higher thrust. It has much higher velocity, has much higher velocity, which equals a higher thrust per mass value, whatever you want to say,
Higher
grams or something.
ISP.
Yes, yeah, sure. I'm trying to keep it simple. So these are like the whole idea that rockets don't that push off the atmosphere is something that could be debunked by any like terrestrial rocket scientist would tell you they do not push off the atmosphere. You will not find one actual rocket scientist that says that rockets push off the air. That is not what they do in the atmosphere. That is not what they do out of the atmosphere. And this is example. There's an example of this. Rocket engines are more efficient in outer space. They are not less efficient. They are more efficient in outer
Because there's
space.
less drag.
There's less drag, yes, and there's also a higher pressure differential. So there's nothing to push, there's nothing to stop the high speed of the exhaust as it comes out the back. On Earth, there's 14.7 pounds per square inch pushing back on it. And in space, there's nothing. So you get the full, potential of your fuel as
Full
much as you can.
package.
Yeah. So anyways, there's like a complete misconception that there's no thrust in space. And you don't need to, I don't need your backup
Yeah.
Hellcat, sorry. So you can do this example in a vacuum chamber. You could just use solid mass that's not gaseous, so you're not breaking your vacuum. You could have a little remote controlled car that flings little BBs out the back end of it. It's not pushing off the air to get moving forward. It's an inertial transfer. The faster you fling the BBs, the faster the little car will go. You're not breaking the vacuum. It's not pushing off the wall. They're individual particles. The car starts to move long before it hits the wall of the chamber. Like, this is not rocket science, honestly. This is basic Newtonian physics.
What's really hilarious is that Stone himself said that the can moving before the liquid hit the wall was an inertial reaction. I didn't get the chance to tell him that that's exactly what rocket engines do. They use that inertial reaction.
You
push.
just weren't listening, F. The
You weren't
first
listening at
thing I
all.
did was give you that point. The first thing I said was, hey, this is the
How
part
about
of
just
the
address me,
argument that we
Stone,
give
address
to the
me. What do
globies.
you think about my argument, Stone?
So don't pretend I never said it, okay?
I
That's the
never
first
said
thing
you
that I
didn't say
said.
it. I
Well, what
never
are you
said you
talking about
didn't
then?
say it.
You're acting like I don't understand this part or it's ironic or something when it's the first thing I pointed out.
It's
However, it's
ironic that
not
you
the only
pointed
point
out
that I
something that
made.
debunks you as
No,
a point
it's
to
not
try
that it
and.
debunks me is the point. You see, you didn't listen to everything that I said. You only wanted to hear what you wanted to hear. And now you're just promoting that. It's sad.
Well,
You
anyways,
said
I
that
debunked the idea anyways, guys, I just debunked the idea that you need something to push off of for rocket thrust to work. It's
No, you
very.
cannot.
Yeah, we
Yes,
got you 1 second, Birdie. We got you 1 second. Yo, F6, we're going to let Stone respond to what P-Dub said now, but thank you for that. And yeah, to be clear, Stone did give you that point. That's why I introduced him to the conversation, because in Flat Earth, there's a lot of, the general consensus is that it doesn't work that way, right? But, what Stone put forward, obviously, isn't, that isn't necessarily the case. So anyway, Stone, if you would like to respond to what P-Dub said now.
It was just that, precisely that. That you're right that it appears that it is purely an inertial exchange that we're talking about here, but I don't actually subscribe to the second half of the point you were making. Really, the part about where there's less drag. Well, that drag is actually occurring after the moment, and again, I'm using that word on purpose. The moment has passed. There is no longer a physical interaction
I
between
didn't
the
say drag,
propellant.
actually. I didn't say drag. I wasn't.
No, it was your buddy F6 who did,
Yeah,
and it
but so
relates to
he said,
your statement that you did say about
right,
how it works better in a vacuum because
correct, for
there's
a different
nothing else
reason,
to
mainly.
push
For,
against. Those were your words, and then
no, no,
everybody
no, no,
speaks
no.
them.
There's
That's not
nothing
what
They're
I said.
pushing it.
commonly uttered,
No,
but
that's
the
not what I
point is
said.
that it's not
No,
relevant.
you weren't listening to what I said. There's nothing for it to have to push out against. Like when it goes to leave the rocket chamber or the combustion chamber, there's nothing. There's no outside atmosphere pushing against the outside of the combustion chamber.
That doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. It makes the rocket more efficient.
Okay, Pete, here's why it doesn't
Wait,
matter.
yes, okay, go for it.
Like I said, once the propellant has been accelerated and is already on its way out the door, the exchange of inertia is over. It doesn't matter what else that gas encounters,
It
vacuum,
it,
pressure,
it matters
or
what speed.
otherwise. It's an
Matters
inertial
what's
transfer, and it
right.
happens at a moment. And once that moment has passed for that particular molecule of propellant, it doesn't matter how much
Right,
drag
I
or
agree. I
pressure
agree,
or
but you're
anything
not
else there's
listening.
on the other
No, you're not
side.
Yes,
listening to
but
me.
there are
Hold
millions of molecules of propellant in
on.
a
Okay,
rocket.
okay, you're interrupting again. Stop. Stone.
That's a non
It
sequitur.
does.
Go ahead, P.
Yeah, it does matter. Because what's going on is basically standing in the doorway of the particle leaving the rocket is the atmosphere. It is slowing down that particle's ability to leave to leave the rocket and have no influence on the rocket anymore. Right? So up until
No, not right.
yes, right. Let me finish what I'm
No,
saying.
that's the whole
Let
point.
me finish what I'm saying. I'll let you finish, huh?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's trying to leave the rocket. What's behind it is high pressure gas, high temperature gas in the combustion chamber. What's behind that? More high pressure gas. What's behind that? Behind that? Behind that? Eventually, the pressure chamber wall, the combustion chamber wall. Right? So it is pushing off the rocket until the very last moment when it goes to leave the rocket. And there's something that's keeping it from moving at the speed it wants to move. And that's 14.7 psi at sea level. And in space, there's no psi stopping it from leaving. It gets to push as hard as it wants and leave as fast as it can. That's why rockets are more effective or more efficient in vacuum. And again, this is an irrelevant point because you're claiming that rockets don't push off the air. When a normal terrestrial rocket scientist who runs rockets in the atmosphere will tell you that it's not pushing off the air. Is he also working for the big conspiracy? Or are all literal rocket scientists wrong? Because
Really.
I'm not talking about
Just let me know when
NASA.
you're
I'm
done.
not talking about any sort of anything beyond the Earth's atmosphere. I'm just talking about people that make rockets, amateur rocketeers on up to people that build Sidewinder missiles.
Just keep appealing to the masses. Let me know when you're done.
I'm
Answer the
not appealing to the
question.
masses. I'm asking, what are they all wrong? You don't
That's
have
just
anybody.
precisely what you're
Okay,
doing by asking
so
that question.
show me someone beyond.
Answer
Show me
the
someone beyond your
question.
Hellcat. Seriously,
When I get a second.
Hellcat. Show me Stone. Show me someone beyond your own logic that says that is this. Show me a rocket
Can
scientist.
I have a second?
Go for it.
Oh, good, you're done. Okay, so
Well, I mean, I
here's
was
why.
asking a question. You interrupted me.
Here's why you're wrong on this point is
Okay.
because we're talking about, again, the propellant in this term is plasma, not
Well,
exploding
you can
hydrogen.
change the topic. We can
Yo,
go
P
to
It's the
Dubs, P Dubs.
same. Same
If it's the
subject
same,
we've
then
been
what's the
talking about
difference?
since the beginning. We're talking
Okay, if you
about
want to talk about
crafts.
plasma, that's fine. It's a much lower mass moving at a much higher
P,
speed.
you're
What's the
interrupting
difference?
far too many times.
Yeah, you spoke for a long time, and then now, as soon as Stone you finally gave Stone the floor. You gotta really like give him the floor, right? You spoke for a long time. Now
Hold on, I'm
let
about to
him
drop it
speak.
back to
So now you're
actual
doing
drop.
it to
Now,
me. You can't just interrupt
go for it,
people.
guys. Have fun.
It doesn't make your point more valid when
Go
you
for it.
interrupt
Go,
other.
let me
You're
talk. I'm
still
reading up.
doing
I'm
it.
reading
That's
up.
not what we're gonna do here. That's not.
I'm reading
I
up.
will remove you from the space. Okay. We're not going to interrupt Stone while he's trying to explain something to you. He gave you the floor and was very cordial and allowed you to speak for a good amount of time. Now, please give him the same respect. Go ahead, Stone.
Thank you. So once again, this is about why the mass coming out the back and the moment is important and relevant to the conversation we were having 5-10 minutes ago, talking about the Lagrange point and talking about craft that are out there for any length of time, years, according to NASA, and have their own little fuel tank to accomplish all of the things that they want to do while they're in space. Back to the generation of method they choose out here, one of many are all to do with plasma. The most typical one is where you have two different elements brought together and then ionized, and it then explodes outward out the back of a big ass funnel cone expansively outward. The thing is, once it turns into plasma and ignites and is firing out under pressure, it is already going a certain velocity backward, away from the craft, outward. The stuff that comes after it is also going at that velocity. It is continuing to push that out at that velocity after the moment occurs. It is simply mass that is going at a velocity. Now, if you're in vacuum, yes, that should actually serve to help even accelerate the outward expansion of the gas after it's already left that moment of ignition and is doing its thing. But that's not actually going to help the rocket go faster because there's less drag there. I mean, these are the kinds of things that we're not even doing in atmosphere with plasma because of the problems you just cited with mass and drag and shit like that. It's not really relevant when we talk about the mechanism. It's all about the total mass of the propellant and the total mass of the craft and the longevity of the craft. How much you're going to spend trying to get the craft to do a particular maneuver. Now, we just talked about this third phase Saturn V rocket thing that burns for 8 minutes, and then there's just no more fuel. You got to throw it away. You got to be a gigantic astronomical litter bug and toss it. Well, I'm looking at the same kind of burn rates in terms of how much plasma you got to spend to move that mass of an article accelerated in any tangible amount in any direction you want it to go, or just to
Said
keep
this
it
stuff,
where it is
man.
out there in space.
You said this
It's
stuff.
I know I did say it, and I wanted to rearticulate it because
Can I
it
respond to
seems
it?
like you're not comprehending it. So go
Can I
ahead and
Stone.
respond to
rebut
it?
that now again if you like.
Can I
Stone.
respond
The
to it?
Saturn
No,
V used liquid hydrogen,
okay,
liquid
okay,
oxygen.
okay. So, anyways, when you're talking about a plasma thruster, or an ion thruster, which is what they're typically using on a real long life type of spacecraft out in space, the amount of fuel needed is very small. And the reason for that is twofold. One, it spits out the mass of that fuel at extremely high speeds, much higher than a chemical rocket. You seem to be confusing chemical rockets and plasma rockets. You talked about introducing two different molecules and ionizing them so they could explode out of a cone. That's not how a plasma thruster or an ion thruster works at all. Those are typically monopropellant, and they put either a magnetic field or an electric charge on them. They accelerate it towards a collector, and it flies past that collector out to the back of the rocket, imparting inertia against the spacecraft. It uses very little fuel, but it also provides very little thrust, although it is doing it at a very high velocity. So what you can do is burn it for a very long time. Because there's no drag to slow you down, you can use your ion thrusters over a very long period to get you up to extremely high speeds. Chemical rockets are used when you need to get up to a high speed in a very short amount of time, like if you had astronauts on board. and you didn't want to have them sitting in space for 3 months as they tried to get to the moon or something like that. However, you can look at how I think the last Japanese mission to the moon took a couple months to get there. It was an unmanned mission. It used a plasma or an ion thruster. It was a very small amount of thrust from it, but it burns for a very long time. Force equals mass times velocity. I urge you to go look up the velocity speed of a plasma or an ion engine versus a chemical engine.
Force mass times velocity.
Yeah, it's F equals
Yeah,
mv, dude. Force equals mass times velocity.
yeah.
That's what
Okay.
everything in your life is calculated that moves, whether it's your car or the plane you
Mhm,
fly in, are all
mhm.
calculated with Newton's physics. Force equals mass times velocity.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's look at the mass of the propellant, regardless of how much you accelerate it. The
No,
point is
not
that
regardless. Exactly
why are
correlated
you
to how much.
interrupting me? What the
Because
living
you have to
fuck?
say something, because you can't just say regardless of the force. If you don't know that force equals mass times velocity, then you can't just ignore that. Like that's basic physics.
Hey,
I'm sorry. With some,
Dubs,
hold on. I'm sorry. With
why
some
are
of the
you
really fast,
interrupting me 8
because you're just
words into
Yeah,
my first
P-Dubs, what you
sentence?
did just now was not like a quick little interjection or a quick little thought. Like you interrupted him and then continued to steamroll over him and try
right.
to take the
His only
conversation. Now you're
his only
trying to do it to
contradiction was
me.
I don't.
I
He
already
doesn't
warned you
like
about
that. He
this,
doesn't.
so
I brought a real formula.
you're kind of just
Bye.
you are currently making the space difficult for people to listen to. And so we're not just gonna do that to people. We're not gonna do that
I'll
to
just
the
say I brought a
listeners.
formula that brings incredulity.
Okay, so you interrupted me to say that. Okay, go ahead, Stone.
Well, I would expect somebody making that accusation to come back with some kind of quantified statement or claim, and I have yet to see a single one from their side. All I saw was very and long and things like this. Even when I said tiny, they took exception to it. When the facts are the facts, man, your typical ion thruster is only a 6-inch diameter tool. They're pretty small.
Okay. And it gets the job done because the spacecraft that it's attached to is normally not that heavy.
Oh no, it's only a couple 100 kilos. Right.
You realize ion engines are mostly used for small probes. Like,
Yes, that's why I said only a couple of 100 kilos, like 200 or 300 kilos, that this little 6-inch drive is driving around the cosmos for years. Yeah, man.
Well, okay.
yeah,
Let me
and
just,
it
okay, let me
moves
just give an
very
idea because
slowly
I'll
because it
come
has
back
a
with some.
shitty thrust to weight ratio.
I'll come back with some actual values here. The ion thruster exhaust velocity is 20 to 50 kilometers per second, where a liquid bipropellant, pretty much kind of one of the higher performance fuels out there, is 2 to 4 kilometers per second. So we're looking at
Yeah, okay.
a 10 to about a 10 times increase in performance.
But we're also looking at about a 200th of the mass.
Right, but where do you use ion engines? No, it's not mass, like because remember we're
Yes, mass. Propellant
right.
mass.
So there's no like what should I call it? Force pushing back on a satellite in space. You just have to move its mass. So all you need to do is accelerate the propellant to a very high speed,
Yes, but you
which is what
can't
you do.
do you cannot move 200 kilos of stuff from 0 to 60 miles an hour on 50 molecules worth of propellant, no matter how much you accelerate them.
Yes, you definitely could. You 100% could.
Yeah, but mankind
Force
can't.
equals mass times velocity. That's a known fact. It's a
You just
law
keep
of
hiding
physics.
behind those formula, guy. That's so entertaining.
I'm sorry that you don't know force equals mass times velocity, but I'm sure a lot of people in this room learned it in
Oh,
school,
yes.
and
Yes,
a
there's
lot of
there's just
engineers.
no
Let's
end
hear
to
if
the
anybody
things
who's
you can
actually an
accuse.
engineer in this room.
Okay,
Yo,
Stone,
Knows.
all
Dubs,
you're showing is incredulity right now. You're just saying nuh-uh to a scientific formula that everyone who actually has two functioning brain cells knows.
Yo, thanks for that. Appreciate that, Hellcat. So Shane, if you're still here, can we get a mic check real quick? because we're gonna touch back on tides real quick, and then we're gonna wrap up for the night. The space is bugged out, and we actually don't have the ability to moderate. So please be generous with us, P Dubs and Hellcat. You guys will be our last guest for the night, but we are going to touch back real quick on Liliana's question about the tidal forces. So Shane, if we can get a mic check off of you, brother.
Tidal forces, I thought that was answered by P Dubs.
Negative. Not hearing a mic.
Something about that.
Yeah, I don't think Shane's on stage.
It's not up to him to say anything about it. Yeah, Shane's not here, so give me 1 second.
Shane got lost in counter space.
So yeah, just real quick, I want to toss this out there. This space is being hosted by Demon Stride over at Medicinal Mass Media. You can check them out at medicinalmass.com, and they have a Discord server that's a lot of, my experience, a lot of Globers. I will say, honestly, a lot of them are pretty toxic, but at the same time, Demon Stride has put on a couple cool presentations. He's a friend of mine, and, pop in there if you want to debate Flat Earth. They do Flat Earth debates all the time. And follow Medicinal Mass Media here on X Twitter if you're interested. And so I just want to shout that out there. And thanks to Demon Stride for hosting. This was his first Twitter Spaces. So, I just want to say, bear with him with the technical difficulties and everything. But we'll, I'm sure he'll get it worked out. And, we kind of had the same issues when we first started doing Twitter Spaces. We're still kind of working our way through it. So, thanks to Demon Stride, and thanks everyone for being here. And again, try to be respectful. We are going to wrap it up pretty soon here, but in the meantime, just try to, keep your mic on mute until you're, until you have a good chance to speak, and just be respectful, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something, Toby. I do try to be respectful, but there are times that it gets heated up. Shinko, I can see your laughing emojis, and you can do that all you want.
Because it's funny, because whenever I've defuted your claims in real time, you just won't acknowledge it. Because you said something to my face in a space once that said only solid objects can produce light, and I literally told you solar luminescence is direct refutation to that claim, and you wouldn't acknowledge it. So I think
I acknowledge.
honestly,
I acknowledge.
Honestly,
that.
I think you're kind of a joke, because when people refute your claims in real time, you don't like that, and I don't respect it. You don't acknowledge.
Okay, hold on. Shinku, I acknowledge that claim. Now, the second time that you think you got me was just you thinking that gases can be a liquid and a gas at the same time. No, they can't.
We can definitely come back to who killed Colonel Mustard in the library with a candlestick.
Yes,
but I think we are going to wrap up off of that because, like I said, we don't have any ability to rotate mics or bring anyone else on. So we're going to end off of that. Liliana, if you want to check out Tuesday, tomorrow, Shane will be doing a presentation on tidal oscillations and those very fluctuations that were mentioned tonight, so we can get some more gravy on that. Thank you, everyone, for coming out, Globers and Flat Earthers alike. Much appreciated.
Toby,
yeah, 1 second, brother. Hey, how's it going, buddy? Anyway, we'll be doing more events like these, so just, come by and hang out. Thank you.
Toby, did you see I quote tweeted your post because you wanted Shinku to be the next Director General of CERN.
Yeah, we're gonna smack that ether. Heck yeah.
You got a problem with that, bro?
Yeah, and then I quote posted it with let me see what I quoted. Hold on.
I think we're gonna try and get CERN. We're gonna try and get Franco to give him a reference, and then we're gonna do a petition.
Oh, here it is. I quoted CERN approximately 5 seconds after Shinku becomes Director General, and then it was a picture of Chernobyl.
Yeah, cool. That's pretty funny, man.
Hey, if anybody thinks that we can actually measure distances on Earth, shoot me a DM or hit me up in a thread.
I don't know why I did it. I don't know why I made that post. That was just.
What do you think, Toby? Can humans measure distance on Earth?
Can human measure distances on Earth? Do you want a
accurately.
simple answer, or do you want a rigorous answer?
I mean, do we know roughly the distance across the United States? That kind of stuff, like within 5% or something.
Sure.
Think so?
I mean, you probably find some issues if you go to Greenland, but sure.
Right. You don't think people in Greenland know how big their country is?
No, probably not. Probably not the north. There's probably some cartography that could be perfected, especially when we look at the way that the projections are. You look at Antarctica and the Arctic, the projections clearly are distorted even on the globe.
On the globe, they're distorted.
Mm-hmm.
Hold
Okay.
on.
Come on,
No,
man.
no, no. Hold on.
No, Hellcat, come on, man. So
No, I'm
what makes you think they're destroyed? Like, don't you think the people in Greenland would have said something about that, or
The people in Greenland would have said something about the lack of precision of the outline of their continental.
Oh no, I said distances. I didn't say about the outline.
Ooh,
I said
Stone,
distances.
I think you are gone, my man. Sorry, I
Me?
saw Stone's hand go up, but I think out.
Are you talking to me, Toby?
No.
Okay.
I was just commenting about the base being totally bugged out. We're down to 7 of us now.
No, I'm not talking about the shape of Greenland. I'm just talking about, like, I mean, I guess you could correlate it into the shape, but I'm just saying, like, when they go to drive X number of kilometers across the country, they drive that many kilometers across the country. Like, GPS tells them it's 342 kilometers, and then they drive, and it's 342 kilometers.
It's probably relatively accurate, I suppose. I don't know, like, I don't know why you would think that I would have a contention with maps.
I'm just trying to get on the same page. I don't think you have a contention with that. I think you're probably a reasonable person, and you would agree that.
I think the space may have just bugged out. You there, P-Dubs? I'm assuming the space is bugged out. To anyone that's listening still on YouTube or wherever. Hello? Testing? Does anyone hear me? Give me a emoji, audience, if anyone hears me. Oh, Stone puts his hand up. Yeah, I think the space is done, Zo. So, thanks everyone for being here. Everyone, take care. Sorry for the technical problems. We'll keep working at it, but we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the stream and wrap up the space. Everyone, take care. I think we'll wrap up the space. It's on, it's all on Demon Stride. So, if anyone's gonna hang out still, just heads up that don't buy crypto rug pull streams, even if they have Flat Earth in the title. Don't do that. All right, bye. Anyways, thanks everyone for being here. And yeah, sorry for all the technical issues. We'll probably do our own space again sometime probably next week, maybe Monday, maybe Wednesday. Also going to try and just help Demon Stride if he wants any more help trying to get it to work on Twitter. I'm not sure if he's going to stick to the process of trying to make the jump from or to integrate platforms with Twitter or whatever. But in any case, thanks again for being here, everyone. Everyone take care. Tomorrow night, don't miss, we're going to have Tides on Ether Cosmology. And so don't miss that. And yeah, we're going to have Tides on Ether Cosmology, and we're going to have Thursday night reading night, which is at 9 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow night is at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's the Ether Roundtable. And then on Friday, there's going to be Flat Earth Fridays. At least 2 of us will be live streaming for that. And then this Sunday, we will probably be returning back to Bring Your Own Brenner Comp, where we read from Michael Brenner's works on Quora. So thanks, everyone.